Hey guys, welcome to the video, balancing a full-time job and freelance work. So, pretty good question put to me. I'm going to answer. Hey Stef, I spent the last few years learning JavaScript, PHP, and Ruby, the latter as a general purpose programming language in view of becoming a professional web developer. I thought of going in-house, but having viewed many of your videos, maybe I'll go freelance. I'm 27, I work at a coffee shop, so I have a basic job to fall back on. I know a few small business owners, so I'm happy to do 1 or 2 projects for free. That's the way to go. But do you have any tips for balancing a full-time job and freelance work, especially as my work hours change every week? Regards. Well, this is the ideal situation in which you want to freelance or go into freelance. Freelance gives you maximum flexibility in terms of your work hours. When you are a freelance developer, which is different from a contractor, and I'll give you that nuance in a second. When you are a freelance developer, you choose when and who and where and how you're going to work. You're freelancing. When you are a contractor, you are typically brought into an organization and you have a particular task that is assigned to you. You probably have to show up at particular times. A contractor is somebody who basically is an employee without any of the benefits of the employee, but so you have to show up at particular times. You have to do whatever work they want you to do. Languages and frameworks. It's probably very, very structured as a contractor. A freelancer is also a type of contractor, but a freelancer has maximum flexibility. As I said, you as a freelancer, in terms of the choice of technology stacks that you're going to use, that's basically your sales job. Your job as a freelancer, a lot of the times, is just to say, okay, we're going to use this language for that because of the nature of your project, or we're going to use this framework or that language, etc., etc. Sometimes, there are situations where I've been for example, where I was brought in to a small company to do a gig on a freelance basis, and they had an infrastructure in PHP, and I was forced at that time, when I was huge into Java, I was forced to do it in PHP because they said, listen, we already got PHP. We don't want PHP and Java and 10 other things. We just want it all in PHP. And that kind of makes sense. You want to keep your technology stack as consistent as possible, so you don't have to hire talent here and talent there and talent everywhere. You want to have one stack. Anyhow, that aside, so when you're freelancing, you have that maximum flexibility. So if you're working a full-time job or part-time jobs, even if the hours are erratic with your full-time job, freelancing is perfect for that because you don't have to be at any particular place at any particular time. That's the nature of freelance. You go see your client, it could be WordPress work, it could be PHP work, it could be shopping cart implementation, who knows, it could be a Wix implementation, it could be Ruby if you find some company that may have some Ruby work that they want to expand upon. And as a freelancer, you decide what hours you work, how often you work, when you work, etc., what tools you use, etc. That's your decision largely. And so you just specify that in the contract. You say, you calculate, okay, I'm going to be working at the coffee shop 20 hours a week. I'm just throwing a number out there. And the hours will change, but it doesn't matter. So you can budget out an extra 10, 20, or another 20, 30 hours a week you can put into coding, into development for your freelance work. And you just work it out that way. So it's an ideal situation. That's the beautiful thing about freelancing, is that it's freedom. It's freedom. Now, the downside with freelancing is you got to have a bit of discipline in the first stages, and so that you can get your business up and running. That's all it is. Once you get yourself a nice stable of clients, then you're going to have more than enough work, and you're going to be making much more money than you would be working for somebody else. There's no question about that, because remember, when you're hired as a developer, people got to make money on your time. So if they're paying you X, they got to make X plus. But if you're a freelancer, you can make that X plus for yourself. It gets complex when you're dealing with very large projects and large organizations, etc., etc. But that's just sort of a blanket statement. If you want to really learn about freelancing, I have a full course on it below. Dirt cheap, will cost you just a couple of coffees. So if you think your freelance career is worth a couple of cups of coffee, then you might want to check that out. It's a popular course, by the way. I just want to clarify one thing. This guy said, I spent the last few years learning JS, PHP, and Ruby, the latter for general programming, in view of becoming a professional web developer. One thing I have to point out, he has very well written English, which is good, because when you're out there freelancing, you're selling yourself, you have to have very clean, simple language written so that you can communicate with people. Second thing, if you would have done my full stack course, instead of a few years, you could have been ready for freelancing within 2 months, 3 months. And several people on this YouTube channel have said they've done it within a month from scratch. So that's something to be said there. And yes, it's seamless. And yes, it's shameless self-promotion, but you gotta chat yourself up. That's another rule of freelancing in business. You gotta have confidence. You put together a good product. You got to have confidence, and you got to be willing to go out there and talk about your product and let people know about it, because if they don't know, how are they going to know? If you don't tell them, how are they going to know? And that happened on this channel, by the way. People were watching my video for months. They said, Stef, do you happen to have a course? I'm like, do I have a course? I always put links to my courses down below. I was surprised. So anyway, that's it. All right, bye-bye. Snowstorms to go to meetings. You gotta be a dedicated vlogger. I have to tell you, with this little camera, people are gonna be staring. I don't like that. I think I gotta travel indoors. Yep. There you go. She was staring at the camera. I didn't like that. I'm just shooting some B-roll here. My dentist is up here. Many years ago, that was a sushi restaurant, and I started dating a crazy woman. No longer dating her.